about the drought and the ongoing water crisis in the country. I'm not going to read the entire document. I will read parts of it, but I will just give you a summary of the content basically, and then Courtney will take over from there. So it starts off with a little introduction saying that for about 5 years, COPAC and SAFSI, that's the South African Food Sovereignty Campaign, they've been in conversation with drought-affected communities in the country and supporting solidarity action, making available resources and relevant news, and then to basically support the struggles of people affected by drought in the country. Then over the years, the drought has been like a catalyst for climate action. The Cape Town drought was historical for South Africa. They've been facing day zero for quite some time. They actually never reached the day zero, but it's been covered in the mainstream media largely, and a lot of attention went into the drought that Cape Town faced at that point in time. So it was really like the whole country, the attention of the whole country was on the drought in Cape Town. But at the very same time, we've got small communities in the Western Cape, in the Eastern Cape, that have experienced worse drought than the drought that was in Cape Town. Day zero was long gone for many of these small towns, and it was largely overlooked by the mainstream media. It didn't get the attention. Nobody really spoke about it. But the impact on the communities was real. When the translation of the drought in Cape Town that impacted on the food prices and on production and many other things, when that was in the news, the similar translation happened in the small communities, but nobody heard anything about that. So now we also, with this new virus thing, one of the main reasons that I'm not joining your conference today is that we don't have any running water. We have communities that have faced the water crisis for months, even before the Cape Town crisis, and it's still ongoing. It's large communities without any access to any running water. So they cannot wash their hands. They're not resilient to any form of crisis. And in our opinion, those are the communities that we as the climate justice movement should actually be supporting in this very critical time. So what we spoke about, the solidarity action that we spoke about, was that we have a day of action, and the proposed date for that was Sunday, the 5th of April. I'm really not certain whether under the circumstances we will still stick to the 5th of April. I think that's something that you guys will decide in the conference, given the gatherings that are not allowed at the moment and all of that. But whatever date we decide upon, the idea is for all the affected communities who have been experiencing the drought without any highlighting of the crisis, for these communities to gather at the dry rivers, at the dams, at the depleted water sources, and sending the same message out to the world. And the message should be around the right to water mainly, and then also obviously furthering the demands that's in the Climate Justice Charter. The hashtag that has been linked to that is hashtag Climate Justice Now, hashtag Save Our Souls or SOS, and hashtag Water for All. So just a bit of context to that. There are communities like the Grafrinet community community in Graflinet who have been planning this already. Our dam, the Nueva Dam, has been without water for quite some time. I'm very certain that many of you read about that, even saw that on national TV. Currently, the dam is standing at 8% capacity, but the water crisis is far from over because that's not enough. We are very uncertain as to when the next rains will be. It has been raining quite a bit, but we know at the moment with climate change, with the unpredictable weather patterns, we cannot be certain that that will be sufficient. Then there's a community at Wamakwe. Please excuse the pronunciation. I've been practicing it all morning, but not certain if I can do that. They planned a protest action at a dam. This particular dam has got water, but the concern is around the quality of the water and the impact that poor quality might have on the health conditions of people having to utilize the water in a dam. Then also the Makanda community, they'll be protesting at the Settlers Dam. At the moment, they are experiencing days without water. It's mainly the climate crisis, but also concerns around the mismanagement of water distribution to the relevant areas. I think in Graflinet, it's more or less the same concern where we do have a bit of water, but the distribution is really mismanaged. So the idea with this day of action is, as I've said, for people to gather around the dry dams, the dry rivers, or whatever water sources that's been depleted, and then send out a similar message to the world outside around the right to water and also the demands in the Climate Justice Charter. This needs to be very thoroughly planned, because we actually thought that it would be excellent if it could be like synchronized action happening at the very same time in all the different places in the country, for that whole solidarity effect and the impact thereof, for it to happen at the same, on the same day, at the same time. So we thought that the local community organizations and NGOs operating in the various areas would be the ones responsible for the planning of these gatherings or solidarity actions, all the logistics thereof. Obviously, we will agree on the date and particular time. And then for the NGOs and the CBOs to kind of mobilize their communities in the areas that they operate to participate in the solidarity action. So the community members are encouraged to speak to their local radio stations, to prepare posters sending out the similar message that we will obviously agree upon. Also maybe very unique messages unique to particular areas can go onto those posters. And in the concept note, it was also agreed that a list of the organizations that will be requested to participate in the local organizing will be finalized by you guys in this activist school over today and tomorrow. So the role of the larger climate network would be to follow these actions and to profile them, to send them out into the media, mainstream obviously, and social media. There's a suggestion of a Twitter storm under one hashtag, and in order to try and get it to trend, I think Facebook will be very useful in this regard, and also maybe Instagram. But obviously there will be a team working on the covering of these local solidarity actions. And it was also mentioned that we have to request the faith-based organizations to put this, to highlight this in their gatherings. And let me just refer to this. And to have moments of silence and to read out the joint statements in their services. And then also at the sports and cultural events, we will ask people to do the same. As I've said, I'm not 100% certain under the current situation how we will do this, because I know in Grafinet all the church services has been postponed. There won't be any church until further notice, and also sports and cultural events also have now been postponed. So we will have to have a chat about obviously the date and the way in which we can do some of these things in the meantime whilst we are not able to have these kinds of large gatherings. So the role of COPAC would be to release a joint media statement and a call for solidarity, together with all the local organizations that's been identified to participate in the local convening. And then also let me just check here. So so in the joint media statement, all the demands that are in the Climate Justice Charter will be highlighted, and then we will obviously ask people to endorse the media statement, we will also ask all the organizations, particularly the bigger NGOs who have Facebook accounts and social media accounts that's got quite a number of followers, to draw attention to these actions on their social media pages. So that was just basically the idea. And then, as I've mentioned, the hashtags needs to be the same. They are suggested hashtags. I think people will obviously have to decide on maybe one so that we don't have too many. Hashtag SOS, hashtag Save Our Souls, hashtag Save Our Water, hashtag Water for All, or hashtag Climate Justice Now. So that is just in brief the idea that we had for the solidarity action around, particularly around the drought in the country.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so I'll facilitate the discussion. I'll pull up the questions now. But yeah, we'd like it if you could stay for the discussion. We'll take you off the big screen, but if you could just hear the discussion and add anything that you want to add. Is that fine?
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Just take me off the big screen, please.
Okay.
I've just emailed everyone the concept note because I forgot to print it, so you can check your emails. Questions are there, but Courtney will also put them up.
Okay, so the questions are, I'm just going to go through the 7 questions quickly. The first one is, what is the best way to link water issues to climate change? So as Krizan was saying, like in Makanda, where there's management issues as well as, obviously the effects of the drought, how do we make sure that people know that there's a link and this is not just mismanagement of water? The second question is, what time of day is most appropriate for actions? As Vishwa was saying, like, we really do want the session to be planning this, like the strategy. So even the details of what time is appropriate, we want to talk about that. Yeah, those are the questions. Can everyone see that? Yeah. Okay. So the third one is, which hashtags should be used for trending and retweeting? Those are the ones listed by Krizan. What organizations locally could take the lead on such an action? So, for example, the Water Caucus, or SLIC, maybe. There's different organizations that deal with different issues. So who are the most appropriate ones in your areas? What demands should we make to be included in the call to solidarity? Who would be the communication people in local organizations to be included in the COPAC led media statement. So obviously we'll have names at the end of the media statement that people can contact depending on the area that they want to cover. And then the last question is, how does an action like this contribute to building a climate justice movement? So I think, how much time do we have?
We can eat into lunch.
Yeah.
Half an hour.
Okay, so let's go through these questions systematically from 1 to 7.
What one missing to?
Oh yes, and then that Nusim too will also respond to the document before we go into the questions. But just to prepare for that, we'll go through each question and have like definitive answers for each. But I just want to first hand over to Nusim to respond to the document, if you have anything to add.
Okay, that one also.
Which document are we talking about?
The one you just
The
emailed.
one
Water
You just
document.
Yeah.
emailed. It's not there.
it wasn't printed.
Jane just emailed it because she
Yeah, yeah.
forgot to print it.
Okay.
And that's what Chris John presented.
Okay.
You should respond to Christian, not to the document.
Just a question.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, what do you think?
No, she's going to talk from her situation.
Okay, I actually wanted to
Yeah.
do that. If allowed, I won't like read like all this. I just like go to few things on actually what are the actions that we actually like did at where we are in Mamakwe as a Abanebongo person with disabilities. From the CJ Charter from November until now, the action that we did already. The minute we actually got home, we reported everything to the board members. As we have like different projects now in our organization, we created different projects according to different not actually genders but ages. So we had a meeting with the youth department, youth wing board, and we reported the charter because we thought that we must report the charter or like let the charter known by different people in their own ways and languages and our situations and all that. So like we have like homes whereby we meet with the youth department, and we also had a children's wing. We created now a children's wing whereby we first reported the charter, and we let them like ask questions. The children ask questions. We took like we selected a group of 9 to 12 years children. It's mostly girls that actually were like interested, and they came and we reported the charter. We also sent pics and videos to SA Sovereignty Food Twitter timeline and all that. And yes, and what we also did, we asked children to actually write short stories on climate crisis, drought, and all that. How did they understand the charter and all the things happening in there? And they wrote like interesting stories and some of the things that we didn't know that they realized that are happening around their lives. They wrote those short stories. We've got pictures. We send you guys pictures of some of them, of the children are here with their small papers with their stories on. So yes, and we did that. On actually realizing that we've got a transport problem in our areas, that we can't. It's difficult for us to actually travel to villages because there's a lot of villages in Namakwe. We still have to like get there eventually, but we decided to actually create a program that is called Care and Educational Program, whereby we have group of like women, whereby we actually visit homes of vulnerable people, old age people, bedridden people, like wheelchair disabled bounded people. We visit them. We actually like explain the effects of drought and climate change and how it affects them. We've got pictures on that also, and we ask them how do they understand about this, how does it affect them and all that. And now that we also introduced the charter, but the charter is also almost like not speaking to us in that area, but we just show them the books on them to actually understand what we are actually doing as like activists, so that they can see that we're doing something, but we are going to bring it like in their own language and in their own situation with them. So they appreciated what we are doing, they appreciated what is COPEC is doing, and thereby us now is like, when we mention COPEC, they're like, yeah. So instead of like before, they're like, what is COPEC? What are you doing? What are you doing? So now at least they understand now what is actually happening and what we're also doing to actually help them understand what is affecting them. So, yes, on ignorance on our local government, we even called in local councillors to actually convene meetings with them and their ward committees, and those guys are so ignorant, they just don't respond in no vein until now. But we say to them that we are not standing in one place, we're going. Without them, we are going, because we actually want action and change and bring justice to our people. Like on local traditional leaders, we called our local traditional leaders, whereby they've got like imbizos. We asked them if we can like join their imbizo meetings and all that. We went to two of them, Mr. Kongo and Mr. I forgot, Mr. Nguza, yes, Eslabeni. And we went there with our youth guys. We were like at least only 3 because we had to walk to those villages. And we had like made eggs and bread and juices so that we can eat on the way. So we joined their meetings, the imbizos, and we explained the charter to them. We've got also pictures of that in that imbizos. We were talking there, and like old age people were like, oh, okay, what is good what you guys like doing, and like telling us we didn't even know other things that are badly affecting us until you guys came now with this thing of yours. So we are no longer now going to call it thing of yours. We are going to like now work with you guys. That's what old people like, old age people, because the imbizos, they are attended by mostly old age people. So yes, we had that, and we are now planning like to have some like awareness campaigns. Hopefully the COVID will be that time, so that we can have like those campaigns with those like local traditional leaders. With the COVID-19 that is actually now coming here, and actually like now we actually realize that how similar the climate change and COVID-19, we are thinking of more strategies and doing a donation drive instead of like dwelling on the fears, but to help those who actually those people who can like share like maybe donate soap, sanitary masks, gloves to our vulnerable communities, because in our villages, people from the first 2 weeks, there's like this thing of like people going to towns for disability grants, social grants and stuff like that, and go shoppings because people have got that like money, and they go to town in those bakkie or now, it's actually closed in there, and some of the bakkies, their windows are not working. People are cramping in there, going to town and come back. They're standing in long queues and stuff like that. And now we are like, how about like maybe going to those bakkies on those days, whereby when we get like soaps and gloves and sanitizers and stuff like that, to actually donate it to them in those bakkies so that they can have like those masks on. Some sort of a prevention campaign, so they can those have masks on and sanitizers with, and if the bottles is too big, then we can like on their hands in there so that they can at least be safe and protected at that time. Then we can also go to town, and also when they come back, because they'll be touching a lot of things and greeting people and all that, we can also help from that side to our villages. That's what we actually are planning to do now. We even ask like people here that if they can come and drop some of those stuffs here, or maybe at the airport, so that we can take some stuff home. I don't know that Minister of Transport now just declared that thing, other things as that she has to actually travel. I don't know how I'm going to do that. But we think that because I read that WhatsApp now, and I think that maybe if people want to donate some stuff more, maybe beside traveling with it, maybe they can like courier them to maybe pet stores. They were asked, then we can go fetch them and like work with things to our homes, because like when we visit our other homes, you can see that other people didn't wash, other people didn't have even soap to wash those hands or like wash frequently. So some of them can't even afford soap, and we are even thinking now with the children's like the planning now, we are going to like engage children to actually fetch more water from the river now to actually wash. The parents are gonna be like, you're wasting soap and all that. So if we can get as much donations of soap so that we can also like give it to people so that they don't moan and groan and all that. They can see this as a helping hand on protection. So yes, I spoke about like the question of safety of running water. We even created Abane Bongo, Persons with Disabilities Facebook page now. Please go look for it, for the page, go like it. There's more pictures that we've posted there. There's more activities that we've posted there in these past 2 weeks, because we believe that the evidence, like photos and all that, is the best instead of like talking and all that. So we're using our phones. We even like now, other people now are actually doing hoi hoi at the end of the month. They in our board members, they're doing hoi hoi to buy like touch phones, not as big as this one, even small ones, so that they can also take photos also. So they are now more, I don't know, banomdla, on actually like having smartphones to actually like for these information gettings and pictures, taking pictures, because we even encourage them. They are more encouraged now, because we encourage them to actually, wherever they go, like our children, when we ask the children to actually go write the stories, we ask them to ask their phones from their parents to go to the rivers when there was drought, to take pictures of the dead animals and all that. They brought those pictures to us. They are loaded here, and some of them are even showed we can use. They were taken by the children from their smartphones, mothers. So now some of the mothers are actually like planning now to actually buy smartphones for them, but for the great use, not only for like anything, because they've joined now the organization and they are like now more encouraged on knowledge and all that. So yes, we also coalesce with local organizations. We're working with Rural Women's Assembly, and when we met last year, October, we introduced the charter to them, and some of the, because it's the organization for the gender-based violence, but when we actually like had this lot, we took that opportunity to actually introduce the effect of climate crisis, drought and all that, and we showed them the charter, and now they want now to work with us on their version also, instead of like dwelling in one thing. Yeah,
Great.
so
Wow, thank you so much. That's, yeah, I think that's very helpful, and that's, very helpful to the movement, and thank you for doing that. So if nobody has questions,
Just one question to.
yeah.
So, Kamal, what's the water situation right in Namak? Because this is going to impact COVID. It's the underlying issue. It's the core issue that we can